Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Sean Dex and I welcome you back to the Mango Grove for your daily analysis video on Bitcoin and Chainlink. In yesterday's video, I talked to you guys about how I took a long of this area over here a couple of days ago. And right after that, a couple of hours after that, Bitcoin dumping hard. I took a loss on that. I'll be talking about that loss. Hey, you guys have a lot more to learn from my losses than from my wins. And that's what this channel is about. So we'll be covering that. I'll also be talking about Chainlink. What is Chainlink up to? We'll be going over that. So if you're interested in any of it, you better watch this whole damn video. And here we have Bitcoin USD on the 4-hour, and damn, Bitcoin taking yet another leg to the downside. And man, I have to say, I was expecting a bounce over there. I went long, but I was wrong. Looks like Bitcoin wanted to keep going down, and there were signs pointing towards that, right? Well, the biggest sign was the fact that the trend was down. Every bounce was freaking making a lower high and was getting sold into. This one over here, when we defended the weekly 21 EMA, but failing to close above this cluster over here, the 9,150 to 9,050 range. Now, if you guys do remember, that's where I closed my long, right? That's where I started hedging out of my position, a lot of it over here, and then the rest of it over here. Now, I know some of you guys did take a short over here, and that was amazingly done. Phenomenal trade, but I wasn't too keen on taking that short over there at all, even though I got out of my long, right? I got out of most of it, not all of it. When I got out of all of it was over here on these candle closes, somewhere around here. Okay, now that's where I should have been looking to go short, somewhere on the 8,500, 8,550-ish mark. But hey, I missed that. I was busy. Maybe I'm making excuses, right? But I'm going to make excuses to make myself feel better about it. But either way, for you guys, if you guys were looking to go short, this, in my opinion, was the most comfortable area for me in hindsight. Okay, clearly I didn't go short, so maybe I wasn't as comfortable. But then again, I did have a lot of things going on, setting up my new place. Now, over here was where I was not comfortable going short at all. If I had a short position running from over here, I would have held that short, hoping for the major support area to break. And hey, guess what? We did actually break it towards the downside. I was looking for that bounce over here, looking for the move towards the upside. I was clearly wrong on that. I took that loss. I'll be talking to you guys about that, how I took that loss too, by the way, because that's more important. But if you guys do remember, we were talking about the 12-hour stochastics in yesterday's video. Go ahead and watch that bit, right? Where I was going through that live with you guys for the first time. I'm like, this signature over here, the last time I saw this looked very, when was the last time I saw this? And then we found out that was very similar to when we had that break from the 6K region, and then we spent some consolidation time near the 5K region, right? Before the next leg down towards 3K or 4K, right? And it looked a lot like that, and I chose to ignore that sign because I was already long and I wanted to stick to my guns. Now, if you guys do remember, I took my trade off a support and resistance play. That was not a trend play at all. How could that be a trend trade, right? For those of you guys who are still confused about that, the trend has been down. So the only way to play that was as an SNR play, and with that, the rules change. Now, I actually got stopped out of that position, and as you guys know, I don't like getting stopped out. I don't like using stops at all, and I use stops when I'm out of I'm out of the house, I'm not in front of the computer. And guess when Bitcoin had its dump? When I was at the gym. Now, for those of you guys who have been following Mango for a while, you guys know that there's a running joke that Bitcoin decides to dump only when I'm at the gym. And what do you know? I've been away from the gym for a while now because, again, as you guys know, I've had a back injury that I've been getting back from. Recently, I started going back to the gym more regularly, and Bitcoin has been making its moves while I'm at the gym. This one too, right? I was at the gym and Bitcoin dumps and I get stopped out. Now, here's the thing about stop losses. Let me explain why I don't like using them and how I use them when I am forced to. And when am I forced to use them? Well, when I'm out of the house, when I have to go to the gym, or when I have to go out for a dinner event or something like that. Right? When I'm in a trade that is very tight, that I want to manage my risk on, and I can't manage it actively because I'm not in front of the computer, okay? So, for example, yesterday, right? A really good example. I took my trade off the weekly 55 EMA, which was sitting at around 7,945. Okay, if you guys do remember, I waited for this wick over here to get run, which was a very high probability thing of happening, where you come down, tap into the liquidity over here, and then make another attempt towards the upside, perhaps make a big move towards the upside, which is what I was playing. Clearly I was wrong on that, right? And you can always be wrong on things. Now, the thing about trading is that you always have to focus on risk management first. Okay, always. As a trader, in fact, you should consider yourself a risk manager. Let everybody else call you a trader. You in your head call yourself a risk manager, because you guys need to always keep in mind that every trade is a probability play. It could go either way. So keep that in mind and always think of yourselves as risk managers first. Now, here's the thing about support and resistance plays, right? If you are taking a trade and you buy or you sell very close to either the support or the resistance, how do you manage the risk? Where do you place your stop loss? Well, a lot of people are going to say simply wait for the resistance to be broken or the support to be broken and place your stop loss underneath there and you get stopped out. It's not that easy, guys, because think about it. Everybody else is thinking the same thing. Everybody else will be placing their stops around these areas as well, right? So what happens? It's a rush for liquidity, a rush to get out. Liquidity will disappear suddenly. There may not be enough orders on the book. There may not be enough buyers on the book to actually take your order, because everybody is trying to be the first one to get out of the market. And what happens? The market slips, and by the time your stop loss actually gets filled, you're probably selling somewhere all the way down here at around 7,700, 7,500 if things get really bad, and you don't want that. Okay, so you have to choose. Do I want to get out before everybody else and risk getting out at a position that is a possible buy zone, or do I want to risk facing this liquidity issue and then getting stopped out heavily? And this is something a lot of new traders struggle with. Actually, a lot of intermediate traders struggle with this too. But you guys need to think about it this way. If you guys do end up getting stopped out somewhere around here, when you had intended to get stopped out somewhere around here, you could have effectively doubled or possibly tripled your intended risk. So for example, let's say you say something like, okay, you know what, I'm going to be wrong here. I'm going to place my stop loss here, and I'm okay losing $10,000 on this trade because, hey, on the upside, I'm going to be making $50,000, right? Now, if you do end up getting stopped here instead of here, you could have come back to your computer and seen, damn, I took a $30,000 loss on that trade. Now, when you were supposed to take a $10,000 loss on that trade, you end up taking a $30,000 loss on that trade. And that is how, guys, one single trade can really set you back as a trader. Even though you had a few good trades before that, this one will wipe them all out. So this is why I say always focus on your risk management first when pertaining to stop losses, and you cannot manage your trade actively, all right? Or that's at least how I like to play it when playing support and resistance plays. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not an ideal situation by any means, because often you're going to find yourself selling into an area that you would be buying, and then you come back to your computer and the opposite happens. Price simply bounces off that area and goes on over to your direction, right? Now, you as a trader, you're going to have to make that decision and decide as to whether or not you want to deal with the frustration of the trade going in the direction that you intended after you getting stopped out, or deal with that one big loss that all it takes is one time, guys. All it takes is one time where something this could happen to you, right? And you're not there to manage a trade, and you're like, oh my God, I just sold right at the bottom when I was not supposed to. All it takes is that one time, right? So that it's not all that gray though. It's not all that gray, because you can use a combination of trend analysis as well as support and resistance to kind of keep yourself safe. So for example, you can see that over here on the 4-hour chart, we were putting in higher wicks, right? We had a low over here and then another low over here. So there are two ways you could do this. You could either put your stop loss right underneath over here at around 8,020-ish, If I had done that, I would actually come out with slight of a profit, but I didn't. I actually put my stop loss underneath this wick over here, okay, underneath 7,000, I think right underneath the green 55, and basically I was basing it off this wick and the green 55 as my second criteria. Because if you guys do remember from yesterday's video, what was my thesis? My thesis was, hey, we came and ran these stops over here, right? And now we're going to move on over to the upside, right? That was my thesis. And clearly my thesis is wrong if we come down and go underneath this wick as well. And that also confluences with the fact that this 4 hour wants to continue downtrending. We've taken out this wick over here as well as this wick over here. It's a high probability that we keep going down, right? But you will be selling into that potential green 55 EMA support that we could have very well bounced off. But it's a balancing act, and yeah, it would have really sucked if we came dumped, I get stopped out, and then we actually bounce off that green 55 right after without me actually getting a chance to get back into my position. But you got to choose, right? Do you want to take many of those small losses that frustrate you and then have a big win that makes it all up, or do you want to take a big loss that requires a big win just to make it up, right? I'd rather take small losses very quickly, get back into my position if my thesis is still valid, and then when that big win does come, it not only makes up for my losses, but it gives me a much profitable month as well. Okay, so again guys, this is one of the reasons, by the way, I don't talk about risk management too much, because there's so much to it, and which is why, anyways, for those of you who are on the seed module, please go ahead and watch that support and resistance module and that particular section where I discuss this, and then come here and reference it with this example as well and go over it again and again. And yeah, get ready for the next module on particularly risk management that I'll be going over far more detail. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some actual technical analysis now. Bitcoin not looking good at all. It's not been looking good for a while, and again, I do want to commend everybody who has played this downtrend. I clearly haven't played this downtrend to its most optimal way, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. It's just so hard to be it was hard to be bearish on Bitcoin when it does make a move like this, right? And now a lot of people could be saying, hey, we have a falling channel over here, all you have to do is sell this falling channel. But again, it's not, I don't use patterns, right, as my primary trading strategy, and I have to stick to my strategy, and I will keep sticking to my strategy, knowing that in the long run I will be fine. Now, what is Bitcoin looking like over here? Well, honestly, I know I may sound like a broken record, but there's a good chance actually that Bitcoin may bounce off here. The bulls need Bitcoin to bounce off here. Let me put it that way. Okay, there's a lot of things going for Bitcoin. Looking to see a bounce over here. Now that doesn't mean I'm bullish on Bitcoin over here. Looking for a bounce and possibly even gunning for a trade over here does not mean that you're bullish on an asset, right? It just means that, hey, the probability is more likely that we see some bounce over here before we see further downside. And yeah, in the long term, I would say that mid-term at the very least, we are likely to see more downside. But the question is, how well do the bulls defend this over here? Any wick underneath 7,296 to be exact, 7,293.55 on Bitstamp. A wick underneath that, and I'm going to be very bearish on Bitcoin, and I'm going to be shorting almost every long-term play I get until Bitcoin makes a move to convince me that, okay, you know what, it wants to start trending towards the downside, to the upside even on the weekly. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about so the bullish situation right now that's not even taken place yet is Bitcoin bouncing off this area here and double bottoming off this area over here. It could potentially run the wicks underneath 7,388-ish. As long as it does not take out 7,295-ish, all is gravy. Because remember what we discussed, guys, as long as the bulls hold this level as a low, we could be looking for a higher low over here. But if we take this wick out over here, we would have set in a lower low, and in that regard, I am going to be hunting for a lower high and be looking for a short, possibly around the daily 21. I think is now coming in at around 8,500-ish. If I do, aggressively moving down, 8,431. The 10-kin 8,500-ish, right? Again, though, the weekly 21 EMA would be a very nice area to be taking that short, around 8,800, right? That pivot zone that we did talk about yesterday as well. until Bitcoin starts closing daily candles above that, it's very hard to be super bullish on Bitcoin, right? It is looking very weak over here, very anemic. Okay, so again, right after looking at this weekly chart, the beautiful short position to be had is on the weekly as well, saying 8,500, right? We closed right underneath that. Unfortunately, I did not take that trade. Would have been a nice one. Now, however, I'm not looking to be shorting right into this one. This is, I do believe the 4-day 200 MA is coming in around that level over there. Around 7,600ish actually. So okay, the 4-day 200 MA is over there. I do believe we have a major monthly level over there too, at around 7,700. The 10 SMA, yes, coming in at 7,709. So we have the 4-day 200 MA. We have the monthly 10 SMA 7,700. And when is the 4-day closing? Let's go ahead and look at that again. The 4-day is closing on the 25th. Okay, so interesting, very interesting. So we are at month end. We have the 4-day closing in 3 days that I'm looking for to at the very least defend this 200 MA. So I'm not going to be looking to be shorting into this. Krisha actually reminded me about this morning. She took a short trade yesterday and she closed it around the 4-day 200 MA because that was her target. Now, I will be looking at the monthly. If you guys do remember from a few months ago actually, right when we had this move here, I was targeting areas of around 7,200ish, okay, based off the monthly as well as 6,600. Now, that does line up with major levels that a lot of people are looking at today, and this is another example of how your targets could be right, but your timing being wrong does not make the trade right? So my timing was clearly wrong because I was looking at those levels all the way when we were over here, and this is another example of how Bitcoin's movement can obfuscate your perception of time, because Bitcoin was moving so fast back then. I kind of got caught up with how volatile Bitcoin was. I'm like, okay, cool. So the next move is going to be around 7,200. What I failed to keep in mind, and I'm going to hold this mistake and remember it moving forward. What I failed to keep in mind that, hey, just because Bitcoin moves so fast recently doesn't mean it's going to move just as fast towards the downside. I was thinking to myself, okay, we move fast to the upside, we move fast to the downside. I was looking at 6,600 and around 7,200. You can go and look up those videos too, because there was a big thumbnails, and when Bitcoin wasn't reaching that, I thought I was wrong. Well, I was wrong because my timing wasn't right, and in fact I pretty much came down and bottomed at 7,200 last time, right? Now the question is Bitcoin going to make its move to that 6,600 mark? And those were levels that I'd actually got by looking at the monthly. Remember, we are closing a monthly in around 8 days, and it would be really nice to see Bitcoin defend this 10 SMA coming in at around 7,700. But hey, 8 days is a long time for Bitcoin. We could come tag the 21 EMA sitting at around 7,073, so 7,100ish, and then close about the 10 SMA, and overall the structure would still be fine, right? The monthly does have this bullish cross, but the weekly, and we talked about this, right? Just last week we talked about how we were coming in, converging, and crossing over here on the weekly time frame. That wasn't a good look at all. Now we're seeing this pretty much getting confirmed, because I don't think, unless Bitcoin makes a very strong move to the upside very soon, we are not going to get that recross. Usually if you get a bearish cross into another bullish cross, that is very bullish. But hey, can Bitcoin actually do that? We'll have to sit and wait. You can't forecast that. And assume Bitcoin is going to do that. That's just being far too bullish. But I do want to talk about this quickly. Every time Bitcoin, the signatures are all very similar. Every time Bitcoin has had this bearish cross, it's been a very prolonged downtrend. And look at what happened over here, right? We gave up the 10 SMA, tested the 21 EMA a couple times, gave up the 21 EMA, had a strong move towards the upside, and giving it up right after again, and then the downtrend along with the bearish cross right over here. It's very similar, guys. We have we give up we first give up the 10 SMA, then we struggle, then finally give up the 21 EMA, strong move to the upside to retake the 21 EMA on the weekly, and then give it up again right after. And the question is, do we have another bounce, get rejected, and simply downtrend, a prolonged downtrend? It is so hard to see Bitcoin doing that, but hey, in hindsight, you look at it and like, hey, it was so obvious, just looking at all the signs, right? So again, we got to check our biases as much much as we love Bitcoin, as much as we are bullish on Bitcoin, got to check our biases. So what are we looking for Bitcoin to do? Essentially, well, on the monthly, the bulls are looking to defend that 6,700 region. On the weekly, we have two things to do. We need to defend this weekly low over here at 7,300, 7,295-ish to be a little bit more exact. Can't have Bitcoin even ticking underneath that, in my opinion. We need to bulls need to set this in as a higher low. As negligible as it is, it's going to be a higher low compared to this over here, and then potentially a high moving forward, but we're far away from doing that. Not looking good as we speak. And speaking of that, what is Bitcoin doing right now? Let's go ahead and switch back on over to the daily. And over here again, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to be bold. I would be expecting a bounce over here because one, I see a lot of people closing their positions. Okay, it is a Friday. CMEs are closing as well. A lot of day traders who don't like trading on the weekend they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm done. I like this move. I'm going to be closing my trade. I'm going to enjoy my weekend. I'm going to come back strong on Monday. So what happens when people are closing their positions? Well, they are buying back, right? They're buying. Shorts have to buy and longs have to sell. So right now, shorts taking profits, covering their positions are going to be looking to buy from the market. Similarly, there's going to be a lot of bottom fishers over here who are going to be looking for this low to get defended, and they're probably going to be taking long trades over here. So there is a long opportunity to be had over here. Like I said, this wick over here around 7,300 could get run as long as we don't lose 7,295-ish. We could see a bounce over here, but that does not mean Bitcoin is going to go to the moon from over here again. This move over here, okay, this strong move over here, 40% move, the fact that we got sold into so when this happened, that was bullish. At least the way I read the market, it was bullish. There was volume over there. There was a very strong move. It was a short squeeze. A lot of squeezes got shorted. We also had a bear trap. That was a bear trap, no matter what. Okay, even if you look back now and after the sell-off, this was a bear trap. But the fact that we gave it all up, gave everything, you can't ignore that. As a bull, it doesn't matter, man. You cannot ignore that, and you have to be. If you're bullish, you have to be cautiously bullish. You have to be cautiously bullish, all right? So just keep that in mind. I would be leaning towards a bounce over here, guys, but that does not make me bullish. That does not make me bullish on this. Okay, so let's go ahead and now talk about Link. Where is our Link? We go ahead and look at Link USD, perhaps on Binance. No, let's go ahead and look at Coinbase. So Link, wow, Link coming down to our target of the Kijun around $2. And do I have my horizontals over here? Yeah. So here we go. We were hoping for Link to Link to defend the $2.53 mark, and it did. Right, we did find that support over here right after giving the daily 21 EMA up, testing it twice, coming down to meet the $2.53 mark, closing about, but the very next day coming down to meet our Kijun. This is going to be the level that it needs to defend next. If we do not defend the Kijun, coming around $2.33, we are coming down to $2.05 as our no, I don't want to say we are coming down to $2.05. What I want to say is that would be the next target. Okay, so Link is in a downtrend. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down days on the daily. Okay, we can go ahead and look at the 2-day. We're looking at the 2-day 21 EMA to be defended as our next level, but I don't think yeah, of course we get that up, and the Kijun coming up next as well. So meeting the daily Kijun level will also coincide with meeting the 2-day Kijun. See a lot of confluence there. I do think it's going to act like a magnet. $2.30 is the magnet level I'd be looking for. Let's go ahead and look at the weekly level. Oh, the weekly. Interesting. The 10 SMA coming in right over there. 21 EMA coming in there too. Let's go ahead and find a chart that has a little bit more history. Would that be TradingView? Sorry, that would be Binance calculated by TradingView. There we go. Come on, load for me. TradingView is being slow. It's not my internet, guys. It's not my internet. Okay, so $2.21 is the weekly 21 EMA. The 10 SMA coming at $2.40. Okay, so this is what I'd be looking for Link to do to remain relatively strong. And let's go back on over to our Coinbase chart, and what I'd be looking for Link to do is tag that weekly level, okay, tag that weekly level, but close above the Kijun, okay, at $2.30. I want it, I don't want it, I don't need to do anything, but as a bull, you'd be wanting it to actually do that before we see a bounce. We don't need to tag the weekly 21 EMA at $2.20, $2.25, but we need to defend the Kijun. We need to defend the Kijun. All right, that's what we're looking for in Link USD. Let's go ahead and look at Link BTC. I think Link BTC wouldn't have done too bad at all, to be honest, considering Bitcoin took a move as well. Okay, not looking good as we speak right now, but this day has not closed just yet. We found support once, twice, 3 times on the daily 21 EMA, on the Tenkin, but you want to see that follow through, man. You want to see that follow through. This is not, we're not seeing people come in to buy. What we're seeing rather is that this 10 SMA is what people are using as a level to base off their short positions and possibly front running a Link BTC downtrend move. So this isn't looking, it's not looking bad. It's not looking bad. I don't want to say it's looking bad, but if we do lose this level over here, I'd be looking for Link to come down all the way to around 28,000 Satoshi. If I'm reading that right, yep, 28,000 Satoshi. Sometimes I get the zeros all wrong. So that does line up with the Kijun as well. Let's go ahead and look at the weekly. Let's hide everything over here because let's go ahead and let's see a clean chart. Just a clean chart for now. I've traded the chart too much, and when I trade a chart too much, I get way too many lines, way too many horizontals on it. So let's go ahead and see this level. Right now, we are at a major level where I'd be looking for a Link to see some support on the weekly time frame. We can turn everything back on over here, and the next level after that, if we do lose this, if we do lose 31,000, is that 31,000? Around 31,000 Satoshi, 31,440ish. Basically, go ahead on to your trading view and look at these candle closes over here. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. And then the next level there would be the 10 SMA on the weekly, which is around 28,000 Satoshi. All right. I would want to see Link at least bounce over there on the weekly time frame. So going back on over to the lower time frames now, we can look at the 4 hours, see how this is looking. It's just downtrending, man. Not looking good at all. We can go ahead and mark some key areas. Just go back in history. One key area over here. So again, this is a 4-hour time frame, guys, so use it with a grain of salt. And we have a key area right over here as well. Okay, so those 2 areas would be areas that I'd be basing off. And we do have a falling wedge or something that we could draw over here, more like a broadening wedge. Yeah, let's go ahead and see what we have. Something like this, and then something. Yep, it is a broadening wedge. We haven't really, it does line up with this area over here too, this horizontal that we just marked. So yeah, that's that. If you're playing the 4 hour, that's what I'd be looking for. But again, if we do bounce over here, the next target would be somewhere around here, lining up the 4-21 EMA, the 4 Tenkin. So this horizontal over here that we've got from the higher time frames, I do believe, right, at around 33,000 Satoshi, is lining up with the top of the wedge, also the 4-21 EMA, and over here towards the bottom of the falling, broadening wedge. Again, it's a downtrend, man. You don't. These things can just keep going down and down and down, right? Like, let's go ahead and show the potential of where this could come all the way down to. Okay, so just to give you guys some perspective, you have to be very, very careful and not assume that, hey, we're going to bounce over here, break this over here, and then go up. Yeah, you could assume that, yeah, we bounce over here because it's a major level, and then target a move all the way up to somewhere around here, but you'd be looking to be a seller over here or take your profits over here and then hold out for a breakout. Like, don't just assume that we're going to break out, right? Because you could be, and especially with altcoins, you could hit this level over here and then come down very aggressively, and then suddenly, even though you got a really good entry, you're sitting at a loss over here. But remember, we haven't yet lost the daily 21 EMA or the Tenkin. We still have more than half a day to go. So Link may pull through and defend this daily 21 EMA, defend this Tenkin, and then again it won't look so bad, but I'd want to see some follow through, right? And again, defending this 21 EMA, defending this Tenkin would line up with a bounce of this falling broadening wedge over here on the 4-hour time frame. But again, guys, be very careful with the lower time frames. If we do lose this level over here again, my first target would be the Kijun lining up with this major dotted line over here, which is a level on the weekly time frame. Again, though, speaking of the weekly time frame, Link has to do something pretty drastic to actually lose its uptrend on the weekly time frame. I'll be looking for it to lose this cluster over here for me to be like, okay, you know what, Link may want to start a downtrend and the trend is broken, because until then, Link honestly is just about being patient. We could come down all the way to somewhere around here based off this level and bounce back up, and we'd still be in a weekly uptrend. So keep that in mind, guys. Link failed to beat these highs over here, but that doesn't mean to me that, hey, I know some people be saying, hey, Link is bearish because we haven't broken 4,000 Satoshi or 40,000 Satoshi, 39,602 to be exact. Until it breaks that, I'm bearish on Link. You can't be bearish on an asset that does this against the Bitcoin pair. You cannot be bearish on this, all right, guys? You can, I mean, I don't get some people, man. They'll go all the way up to the monthly time frame and be like, we need to break this monthly high until I am bullish on this asset. Well, you've missed this entire move, okay? This entire move, and this is what I don't get. This is what I don't get about people, okay? When I entered my trend trade on Chainlink as well as Bitcoin, very similar situation, right? It was based off the daily trend, and we start trending. Actually, Chainlink was more the 12-hour, because when it comes to altcoins, I like starting with the 12-hour. Bitcoin was the daily, right? And we trended all the way up from 3,600 on Bitcoin all the way up to 14,000. But because we didn't break 20,000, people are bearish on Bitcoin. Well, you missed a big move on Bitcoin from 3,000 all the way up to, even if you got out at 10,000, you missed that entire thing, a 3x, because we did not break the highs yet. I think that is just being very, I don't know, that's missed opportunity. Again, everybody can trade their own trading styles, but you can't say it's not bullish. Okay, similarly with Link, right? Similarly with Link, you missed this entire trend to the upside. Now, okay, maybe you have a very busy schedule. You're an astronaut and you are only waiting for monthly levels to be broken before you play the trend, okay? But hey, to each their own. So that's it for Link, guys, and Bitcoin as well. I do a recap, but honestly, this video I think is probably already past the 30-minute mark, and the longer the video, the longer the rendering time, the longer the upload time, the longer the YouTube processing time, everything just gets exponentially longer, and I think we should stop over here for today. I'll do an update for you guys tomorrow as well, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Throw it a like, throw it a subscribe, and until then, trade the mango way, trade the stress-free way. Hey, go ahead and rewatch that entire segment on where I talked about how I place my stop losses. Again, always risk manage first. Those are those valuable gems that will stay with you for a very long time. Ciao.